Hi everybody, Bill Prince again, and we're going to spend a few minutes talking about Chapter 4, Business in a Globalized World. In Chapter 4, we will be addressing the challenges associated with globalization, an issue that new politics seem to have brought to public discussion once again. As always, please be sure to review the learning objectives for this week's chapter. This week we're going to be defining globalization and classifying the major ways in which companies enter the global marketplace. We're going to be identifying the international financial and trade institutions that have shaped globalization in recent decades. We're going to be analyzing the benefits and costs of the globalization of business. We're going to be identifying the major types of political and economic systems in which companies operate across the world. We're going to understand global inequalities of wealth and income and analyze the special challenges of serving those at the bottom of the pyramid. And we're going to be assessing how business can work collaboratively with governments and the civil sector to address the global social issues that have been caused by globalization. As noted, globalization is defined as the movement of goods and services and capital across national borders. Many wonder if this is a process that can be reversed, as some current policymakers might suggest. Generally, globalization occurs when a business entity has developed successful operations in its home country and then attempts to expand globally. In so doing, the entity is required to establish global supply chains. As we will see, there may be many ethical issues that exist in this process due to what is known as cross-cultural contradictions. We'll speak more of those in subsequent chapters. We have seen the development of major transnational corporations, or TNCs, which oftentimes have the economic resources of small countries. We have also seen an ongoing increase in the rate of foreign direct investment. Again, one has to wonder what the current political climate will do to this trend. Inversion, which was all over the news a couple of years ago, is the process by which business entities avoid paying taxes in their home country. In looking at the overall picture of social responsibility, one has to wonder if beating taxes is in fact a socially responsible move. Trying to develop rules of conduct for major international businesses has been an ongoing issue. There are three major organizations that are primarily involved in this process. The World Bank, established in 1994, is a primary economic driver of economic development through infusion of capital to its member countries. The International Monetary Fund is designed to stabilize currency and assist member nations in participating in global trade. Finally, the World Trade Organization, founded in 1995, attempts to create a playbook for global trade. Its goal is to promote free trade whenever possible. Like any other issue that we'll be talking about this semester, there are benefits and costs, and no different with globalization, there are benefits and costs of globalization. Many pros and cons exist on both sides, and it may well be too late to put the genie back in the bottle, whatever we think of the concept of globalization. Slide 14 sets forth in concise detail the benefits and the costs of globalization. Those benefits include increases in economic productivity, theoretically reduction in prices for consumers. It gives developing countries access to foreign investment funds to support economic development. It allows there to be a transfer of technology, and theoretically it can spread democracy and freedom and reduces military conflict in other countries. On the other side of the equation, the costs that exist are it causes jobs insecurity, particularly in countries that seem to be doing the majority of the globalization outsourcing. It has been looked at as weakening environmental and labor standards. It has been viewed as preventing individual nations from adopting policies promoting environmental or social objectives if these discriminate against products from another country. It has been viewed as eroding regional and national cultures and undermining cultural, linguistic, and religious diversity, and in some cases it has been compatible with despotism in that many fascist and other regimes have been supported with the money of some TNCs. The political structure of a country in which business is doing business can have an issue or an impact on issues related to globalization. Democracy is a system of governance which is characterized by fair elections, independent media, separation of powers, and an open society. Traditionally, we have been open to trading with the world in the United States. Again, it seems that as of late, our major institutions have been under attack, so it will be interesting to see what our role in the world is in a few years, particularly related to economic issues. At the other end of the spectrum, we have what are called dictatorships or totalitarian regimes. These are characterized by total social and economic control by a governmental entity, which has usually come into power and remains in power through force. Many times, these environments are much more conducive to the conducting of business due to lack of regulations and the overall component of force and fear. Human rights issues are respected or disrespected differently among nations. This can impact the nation's ability to play in the global marketplace. In terms of basic comparative economic systems, we tend to have those that are characterized by free enterprise, which is lack of central control, and central state control. No pure economic system exists anywhere in the world. In the United States, we have historically been a bit of a hybrid where we tend to pride ourselves on Adam Smithian free market economics. However, we have always had a bit of central control of our economy through taxes and regulations and things of that nature. How does the United States compare in terms of economic freedom? Well, according to the Conservative Heritage Foundation, the United States ranks 12 out of 178 in terms of its index of economic freedom. Slide number 20 discusses a little bit about what that means. One of the major issues that has been associated with globalization is global inequality and what becomes of those people who are not the 1% but are sitting at the bottom of the pyramid. Poverty and inequality has been and will continue to be a pressing global and now domestic issue. Can a system be sustained with that much inequality over the long term? Time will tell. Slide 22 is a graphical depiction of the 1% that we hear so much about in today's news reporting. As you can see, the top of the pyramid contains a very small group of people containing a very large proportion of the wealth. The base of the pyramid, which supports the rest, shows a majority of people who are making far less than those at the top. Again, is this sustainable? Time will tell for sure. One effort that has been attempted to deal with issues of inequality, particularly overseas, is the idea of microfinancing. Microfinancing is a novel approach wherein communities come together and form banks to provide loans to low-income clients who traditionally don't have access to the banking world. There is a video that is embedded both in the PowerPoint slide and in the notes that talks about the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh. I would encourage you to watch this if you want to find out more information about microfinancing and the benefits that it can do. Keep in mind, however, that there are those critics of this type of financing as well. Finally, as noted, when we deal with issues of globalization and are stretching across countries and cultures and political systems, we have seen an emerging trend in the development of collaborative multi-sector partnerships that are focused on particular social issues or problems in the global economy. Generally, we are seeing these relationships form between business, between government, and non-governmental organizations. It is only with this cross-collaboration that many of the issues dealing with poverty, pollution, and human rights violations are going to be dealt with appropriately in a globalized world.